against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Wally.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covering news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Lots to cover today, lots of breaking news. I mean, so many things have happened over these last 2 weeks that these are things that I thought were going to happen over the next 4 years, but they've happened a lot quicker than I realized. So, of course, you had what we were covering yesterday. We have a potential future US president going out and basically said, like, I would protect Bitcoin miners in the United States. And what we've seen over the last couple of days is essentially a change in tune from not so much in their actions, but in their words from the Biden administration, which I find absolutely fascinating. There's an article dropped by The Block yesterday. It says Biden campaign and talks to accept crypto donations. Now, of course, they're just pandering, right? Like, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that they've changed their mind. And we're going to talk about that today. But I think that they're realizing that this isn't necessarily a popular thing with their voters. So I just find it interesting that they're trying to walk it back. And it tells me something that we've been talking about these last couple of days. It's not that Bitcoin needs Trump or RFK. It's that Trump and RFK and now Biden need Bitcoin in order to win an election here in the US. I think that is a testament to the power of our movement. And I can't wait to see where we're going to be, in the next 5 to 10 years. Remember, Bitcoin essentially was born out of rebellion. It was born out of a protest. Remember the message in the Genesis block, Chancellor on the brink of the second bailout for banks. And here you are 15 years later, and now presidents are going in and basically saying, now they're pandering to Bitcoiners in order to get votes, right? So I can't believe we're here. This is insane. So, I think things are just going to get better from here. And I think the sign of us, achieving victory will be Ross walking out of prison. I think that's like the final sign. And Max Keiser is basically making the case that this is the reason that he believes that, we could potentially see a $500,000 Bitcoin as nation states start to not attack Bitcoin, but pander towards Bitcoin miners. And he's making the case, and this is a term that he's coined, which he calls it the hash rate war, that you'll see countries competing for business for Bitcoin miners. And we're already starting to see that in some countries, right? You had the Paraguay government come out basically saying look, this is good for our energy industry. You had the Kingdom of Bhutan announce that they're going to increase their mining operations. They're teaming up with BitDeer. And of course, you have El Salvador, who's mining Bitcoin with their excess geothermal electric capability. So I just find that fascinating. And of course, the final thing, Michael Saylor continues to use the infinite money glitch in order to buy more Bitcoin. Absolute Chad. He's used this multiple times. He buys Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin goes up, the price of his stock goes up, and then he borrows against his stock in order to get more cash in order to buy more Bitcoin. It's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And we read you a post on Stacker News by Jimmy Song that was basically making the case that this is the speculative attack on the dollar. He's using the dollar itself to the fiat system itself against it in a way, which I find absolutely fascinating. He's using, fiat, something that, there's no cap, to buy something that there's a cap supply of. I don't know how that's going to end, but I do find it funny and interesting. Anyways, I do want to bring up my legendary co-host. He was always optimistic. That's why they call him Optimus Fields. How you doing, Opti?
Honestly, I'm a little cooked today. My sleeping schedule's all messed up this week. My elbow feels broken. I don't know what I did, but yeah, I'm struggling today, Nico. I'm struggling, but still optimistic. But man, I'm hurting.
You don't sound very optimistic,
dude.
Bro.
It's still a way of life. But man, my elbow hurts so bad. I have no idea what I did. I'm in pain over here. I'm in pain, guys. But we show up anyways.
Does Bitcoin fix this?
Not today, apparently, because I'm hurting. So no, I'm gonna say no. It's the only thing Bitcoin doesn't fix is my hurt elbow right now. I'm wrecked.
Oh man. Well, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. And if you smash the like button, I heard that Opti will feel better. So
I hope so.
that is, that could be a rumor, but I heard, I think it's true. Maybe
What?
if you smash the like button, you'll feel better.
Sure. Let's
Sure.
see.
Okay, close enough. Anyways, I do want to bring
Old
up
age.
I do want to bring up our guest for today. We have Kent in the house. Kent is the CEO of Saz Mining. Saz Mining is the place to go if you want Bitcoin mining as a service. Anyways, Kent, thank you so much for joining us today, brother. Appreciate it. Kent, it seems like you're on mute.
Second time I've done that, man. Hey, it just seems like a live one. I'm honored to be here and happy to share my thoughts. And yeah, we make mining as a service accessible to the masses. So yeah, you want to DCA a different way? Come check us out.
I love that. DCA a different way. And you guys, we got a surprise for you guys, man, because I think that's an interesting concept for a lot of people. Like, people don't realize, maybe it's a stretch to say this, Kent, but you were explaining it to me before we went on air, and I thought I found it fascinating, which is this idea that you can get Bitcoin at a discount if you mine it instead of buying it.
That's totally accurate. So if we're using a third-party model, Galaxy Digital put it out a couple of years ago. We just plug in the numbers on the mining opportunity, and it looks at, hey, what does it cost to mine a Bitcoin today? And right now that cost is 45,000. So, if you're mining a Bitcoin today with Saz Mining, with one of the mining rigs that we offer two, then you're DCAing into a Bitcoin position at about a 30% discount to the price of Bitcoin on an exchange. So you are stacking more sats for your dollar.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome. It's fascinating. And I'm sure some people in the audience are going to find it very, very interesting, because that's a crazy concept. Like, it almost sounds too good to be true in a way.
Well, yeah, I think that's just it. And I think it took me a couple of years of working here at Saz Mining and sort of analyzing the value proposition to realize, like, hey, why is there so much capital flowing into the Bitcoin mining space? And it took me actually just taking and putting the price of Bitcoin on exchange, which we all know, love, watch, and track every, probably 5 minutes for most of us. They really geek out on the price. But when you actually compare the value proposition to mining to that price, you realize this is why capital is flowing in. And to date, nobody has really made that accessible to the masses. And that's been our aim. So, it's a different value proposition, or it's a different counterparty risk than going to an exchange, right? And there's different set of risks. But at the end of the day, you're just buying a piece of hardware. You're paying for your electricity on a month in, month out basis, and you're getting Bitcoin to your wallet. And that is, from a cost average standpoint, cheaper than any of the DCA products or exchange products that are out there.
Absolutely, man. Well, I can't wait to hear more about it, and we're going to cover it in depth during the culture segment. But before we start the show, I do want to give a very special shout out to the Bitcoin company that makes it so possible. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. What does that mean? What does automatic self-custody means? That means that it is a self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramp. That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you intention to take self-custody of that said Bitcoin. They don't allow you to keep Bitcoin on the exchange. And remember, self-custody is the revolution. So Bitcoin Well perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Head over to bitcoinwell.com today to get started. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. It's a clear 1% spread. It's obviously Bitcoin only, and it's completely non-custodial, empowering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. And also, we have something special for you guys. If you sign up right now to Bitcoin Well using the QR code on your screen, if you sign up using the promo code of simply BTC, you'll get 3 Bitcoin wishing well flip coin flips, and I'll show you what that is in a moment. But if you're an existing customer Bitcoin well, essentially every time you buy Bitcoin, you earn points, and you can throw those points into the Bitcoin wishing well, and it gives you an opportunity to earn some potential Satoshi. So we'll do a free one for you guys right now, and I'll leave the QR code on screen. So first one to scan the QR code gets some free Satoshi. So let's do it right now. Let's flick the coin into the Bitcoin wishing well, and bada bing, bada boom. First person to scan the QR code just won 500,000 sats. Use promo code simplybtc to get started. You'll get 3 coin tosses for free, and best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. Lots to talk about.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You can check the link in the video description or scan the QR code on your screen. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their website. Again, promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 66,610 sats per dollar, 1,501. Block height 847,782. Blocks to halving 202,218. Halving estimate March 25th, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,808 BTC. Capacity value 320 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.6%. Market capitalization 1.31 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 8.25%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting the party started. Anyways, in other news, like I was saying in the beginning, Michael Saylor is using the infinite money glitch to stack more Bitcoin. Don't we all wish we had a giant public company behind us that we could leverage using the fiat debt system to buy more Bitcoin? Anyways, here is the official press release. MicroStrategy announces proposed private offering of 500 million of convertible senior notes. Anyways, here is Michael Saylor announcing it on Twitter. I think it was this morning that he made the announcement, right very, very early in the morning, 6:37 a.m. He wanted to let the world know. Here's some more information from Bitcoin Magazine. Anyways, it goes on to say MicroStrategy, led by CEO Michael Saylor, announced it will raise 500 million through a private offering of convertible senior notes. The proceeds will fund additional purchases, furthering its corporate Bitcoin accumulation strategy. MicroStrategy is already the largest public company holder of Bitcoin, with over 214,000 BTC worth 15 billion on its balance sheet. Starting in 2020, under Saylor's direction, it adopted Bitcoin as its primary reserve asset. Its average purchase price per Bitcoin remains 35,000, while Bitcoin trading nearly 68,000. The firm is still significantly in the green on its holdings. The latest $500 million capital raise comes via selling convertible senior notes to qualified institutional buyers. The notes will pay interest semi-annually and mature in 2032 unless converted or redeemed earlier. According to the announcement, MicroStrategy may use the funds for general corporate purposes, but Bitcoin acquisition remains a priority. The company will also grant initial purchasers an option to buy an additional $75 million in notes. MicroStrategy's Bitcoin buying obsession has made it a Wall Street proxy for Bitcoin itself. The company's stock often rises and falls with Bitcoin's price movements, with investors betting on Bitcoin's upside. With the latest capital injection, MicroStrategy is signaling its conviction that Bitcoin will continue appreciating over the long term. Saylor is ready to double down by acquiring more coins while prices remain relatively low. I mean, like, what is that but not conviction, right? What is that but not conviction? Now, I'll pass it on to you, Kent. Like, is he, like, he's used this glitch many times, Is there any moment that he could potentially get in trouble? Like if Bitcoin starts going down in price, you know, could that potentially put him in a tough spot? Like it's just I wish I had this giant corporation behind me. Like this is nuts. This is I didn't even know this was a thing. But I think it just highlights the insanity that is the fiat system.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm certain that there's some sort of price where he could get in trouble with the low leverage bet that he's putting on Bitcoin here. But his conviction is just otherworldly, and it just makes me think, you know, he's sort of vying with Elon Musk, in my opinion, for God King of planet Earth here. You know, they're both angling for just supreme, power by the amount of value that they have under their belts, and I love it. I love watching him do his thing. I think the only thing I find really fascinating about his approach is that he always he never attacks the dollar publicly in his speech, yet he does so with his actions. And I think that that's fascinating to watch, because I think the actions mean a lot more than words here. And, you know, if he winds up being like the billionaire role model for other publicly traded companies out there, like, more power to him. You know, I just hope he's the Pied Piper leading all the folks to the same playbook, because it helps us all.
Absolutely. Opti, what's your take on this? We have Elaine in the chat. Saylor addicted to Bitcoin, 1,000,000%. Man, I think Kent hit the nail on the head. Like, Saylor is obviously, you know, he's looking at Elon and he's like, man, you know, you got Tesla, I got Bitcoin, bro. So, I mean, let's see what happens. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that Saylor is continuing to use the infinite money glitch. Like you said, I've been joking for a while. If we had the same opportunity, we'd probably be doing the same thing. And to kind of answer your question, can Saylor get in trouble? I think first and foremost, I'm pretty sure he's in the green by now. So like anything he buys on top of here is just only going to increase his profits. And the second thing is, I remember watching some of the Saylor interviews about when he did this strategy, and it seems like every one of his shareholders and people on his board are completely on board with the Bitcoin strategy. So at this point, like, I don't think he's going to ever get in trouble again. And then the third point, like, most of these loans, and I didn't look at the specifics on this one, but I'm guessing it's all roughly the same loan. It's pretty much like free money for like 5 to 6 years. So like, I don't think he's worried about it at all. He's just like, I'm trying to get as much Bitcoin as possible at these prices. And it really makes me think that he's trying to keep up with the demand coming into the ETFs and all that stuff, because they're scooping up so much Bitcoin. And I think he sees the writing on the wall as well, where he's like, look, it's only a matter of time until this price gets ridiculously expensive. I'm not going to be able to get as much Bitcoin that I used to. It's like what we always say, you know, when you first start stacking Bitcoin, you know, the coins you accumulate, like, it makes a dent in your Bitcoin holdings. And after a while, you're like, it doesn't matter how much I buy at these prices, I'm not getting as much Bitcoin as I used to. And even though Saylor's doing this on an incredible level, he's probably feeling the same way. He's like, man, I'm not getting as much Bitcoin as I used to. Like, this $500 million buys are not like they used to be, and he's like, I need more Bitcoin. So hey, man, more power to him. But yeah, he's definitely buying for God King on planet Earth. He's probably already the richest person, will eventually be the first trillionaire on planet Earth. You heard it here first.
Oh man, yeah, dude, that's an absolute fact. All right, everybody, I mean, it feels like it. All right, everybody, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Nashville. Guys, you definitely don't want to miss this awesome event. It's a 12-hour open bar party from noon to midnight in Nashville, Tennessee, the day before the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be hosted July 25th, the Thursday before the Bitcoin conference starts. Confirmed attendees so far include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, and many more. It's going to be hosted at an amazing venue, a rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. The last Pleb Party in Miami was sold out 8 days before, so you don't want to wait to get your tickets. You want to get your tickets quickly. Anyways, let's move on to the news. Lots to talk about today. I'm really excited. Let's do it.
the daily news.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody, I made it easy for you guys to maintain the relationship with your grandchildren, because you only do that if you're able to pass on your generational wealth. And the way that you do that is by properly putting your Bitcoin in self-custody. If not, they're going to get upset. You're going to have comments like, Grandpapa, why did you lose my generational wealth? Yeah, because I didn't store it properly. So that's why you want to get yourself a hardware wallet. Passport by Foundation is the one that we recommend. It's incredibly easy to use, especially if you pair it up with the Envoy app. Check out Passport by Foundation Devices today. All right, everybody. Let's talk about this, because this is a bit someone in the chat. Opti is so annoying. Usually it's about me, Opti. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're doing there.
I have a nasally voice. I get it.
If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Really helps with the algos. We're about to break 1,000 live viewers between YouTube and X. If you add Rumble, we've already broken 1,000 live viewers. So shout out to everybody who's watching live. Anyways, Nico and Kent are battling for beard supremacy these days. I love it. All right, here's David Bailey, CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. He says, in just 15 years, our rebellion has grown into one of the world's most powerful political movements in the world. Our resources and followers double every year. Bitcoin is an unmovable object, and it cannot be negotiated with or outmaneuvered. Change is coming gradually, then suddenly. And I think it's happening. And the way that you're seeing this is, this is the signal, ladies and gentlemen. Biden campaign in talks to accept crypto donations. The article was initially dropped by the publisher, The Block. Here's Nick Carter kind of making fun of it. And he says, White House campaign strategy. We've been harassing crypto for 4 years, and it might cost us an election. What should we do? Junior aide, undo some of those anti-crypto policies? The strategist, no, that won't do. Mr. President, Biden is asleep. Senior aide, what about a minuscule cosmic change which alters absolutely nothing but allows us to posture as being pro-crypto? And then in parentheses, it says, Biden giggles in his sleep, dreaming about ice cream. His aides interpret it as approval. Oh, man, dude, that is absolutely savage. And normally, you know, I would remain neutral. But again, I think his administration has been extremely hostile, and we have to remember they made it political. We didn't make it political. It was them that made it political. So I mean, it's just interesting that they're trying to walk it back. And again, like I think it's important that we remember all the things that they've done, because we talk a lot about this, but I think it's important to remember what are the actual things. And I think Nick Carter laid it out perfectly in this tweet. And it says, under Biden, the administration bullied the banks into dropping crypto clients, engaged in lawfare against every major exchange and token project, harassed Bitcoin miners and tried to bully utilities into dropping them, forced a great number of high quality projects and stablecoins abroad, refused to clarify securities law while haphazardly enforcing it, blackballed the Bitcoin ETF until the court forced approved, made DeFi virtually illegal in the US, made participating in DAOs legally risky, made blockchain privacy effectively illegal, refused to let banks touch crypto, vetoed the overturn of that rule which Congress protested, dropped crypto-specific bank charters and denied charters to new crypto-focused banks, refused to pass any clarifying legislation until crypto becomes existential for the campaign. And they have the absolute temerity to think we're going to donate crypto to the campaign. I mean, that's a good point. Like, this is like they're pandering, but it's I don't believe it. It's just like they haven't changed tune. Like the guy vetoed one of the most recent things that they tried to pass in Congress recently. So I just don't believe it. And it's just interesting how this has escalated so quickly. I think a lot of us inherently knew that eventually there was going to be a clash. This is the separation of money and state. I just didn't think we were going to, it was going to just become this like mainstream issue so quickly. And I think that's, Trump going out and meeting with the CEOs of these public miners and, saying basically like, look, I'll be anti-CBDC, pro-Bitcoin. I'll protect the Bitcoin. He didn't even say I'll protect the Bitcoin mining industry. He's like, I want all the Bitcoin to be mined in the USA. Like, that is absolutely nuts, which is not a good thing, but is a good thing in the sense that it will get nation states to compete for the hash rate. Max Keiser calls this the hash roar, right? And he says he's basically making the argument that this hash rate war is going to be one of the catalysts that sends Bitcoin to potentially 500K, according to Max Keiser. Anyways, in the article, it goes on to say, Bitcoin will hit 500,000 because the United States will start a giant hash war with Iran and Venezuela, and it's already started. In the latest episode of the Keiser Report TV show, Max Keiser predicted that the Iranian and Venezuelan regimes would force the Trump administration to embrace BTC. You know what's crazy about this? This was written in 2020. 2020. Hit the nail on the effing head. Anyways, in the latest episode of his Keiser Report TV show, Max Keiser predicted that the Iranian and Venezuelan regimes would force the Trump administration to embrace BTC. And it goes on to say, thanks to Iran potentially controlling 3% of the Bitcoin hash rate already and Venezuela briefly, the US joining the fight for Bitcoin supremacy is only a matter of time. And then at some point, America will say, we've got to enter the 21st century race of mining Bitcoin. And then they'll try to seek 20% of the hash rate, and then security goes up dramatically and the price goes to 400 to 500,000. For Keiser, repeating previous arguments, Bitcoin represents the reformation of free speech, which governments deny citizens by controlling the currency and therefore the entirety of their position within the state. Quote, Bitcoin is the Mona Lisa of the 21st century. It's self-aware. It's observing us through the quantum mechanical aspects of technology, and it's channeling the eyes of God. Whoa, okay. So this is God looking at us through the protocol and trying to figure out how do we fix this human species because they've gone way off track due to central banking. Uncensorable, unconfiscatable, indestructible wealth. The current situation on macro matters versus the suffering of many Americans. And he's referencing some of the political speeches that happened over the last 4 years. Anger with the government and the dilution of the US dollar contrasts with stock markets seeing their best quarters since 2011. At the same time, the Federal Reserve has taken ownership of huge chunks of equity markets equal to 30% of US GDP. I mean, here's the last quote. He says, the truth is, if you want individual sovereignty, if you want justice, if you want uncensorable, unconfiscatable, indestructible wealth, there's only one way to go, and that's Bitcoin. I mean, dude, like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, this is absolutely insane that he wrote this article back in 2020. And I'll give Simply some credit too. I mean, Opti, I think we said like multiple times when we were talking on the show, especially when the Biden administration initially took their steps towards the industry. And I think really the straw that broke the camel's back is the arrest of the samurai guys. I saw the industry just wake up. After that happened, that was like a catalyst. That was like the moment that sparked something. I remember I was so upset. And before that, we on Simply Bitcoin, we've always taken this, this neutral stance when it came to it. But that episode, I came to the realization that, like, look, use common sense. There's two sides. There's two sides. RFK Jr. and Trump on one side that have taken an anti-CBDC stance, a pro-Bitcoin stance. And on the other side, you have a president who has taken an anti-Bitcoin stance and a pro-CBDC stance. And I said, like, look, like, I think this is inevitable. I think that this is going to become political. And it started like ever so slowly. Like initially it wasn't any of the primary candidates. It was like RFK, it was Ron DeSantis, it was like people on the side, but it wasn't really anyone in the top. And then all of a sudden, like, the more they press, it's almost as if the more stronger Bitcoin gets, right? Which doesn't surprise me, but it's still surprising to see for the first time because you're seeing it in discussions that you would have never have imagined. Like, I remember 2017, you could have never have imagined this in your wildest dreams, yet here we are, which I find interesting. Now, I'll pass it on to Kent. Kent, I mean, I think Keiser hit the nail on the head, and I think he understands the game theory of Bitcoin. If you understand the game theory of Bitcoin, then a lot of these predictions, it's not like a question of will this happen? It's a question of when will this happen? If you understand Bitcoin's incentives, you fundamentally understand at the core that we've already won. What they could do is they could try to slow it, but they can't stop it. And if they can't stop it, then it's just a matter of time before countries worldwide, which, by the way, when Keiser wrote that article, Bhutan wasn't mining Bitcoin. El Salvador wasn't mining Bitcoin. I remember there was a change in tune by the government of Paraguay. They went from, oh, we have to ban this thing, to actually, no, this is an essential part of the energy sector. But this is happening worldwide, where you see politicians attack Bitcoin and they fall flat. And it's just fascinating to see. What's your take, Kent?
Oh man, I just think Satoshi harnessed human self-interest. And I think we all capitulate, at some point or another to the incentives of Bitcoin. And it is inevitable from my standpoint, and it has to be fought for. And I think that all the plebs and Bitcoiners that have been in the ring fighting to drive adoption here is ultimately what pushed it up to the political class, the RFKs and the Trumps. I mean, you look at it, they're politicians that need votes, right? And they realize that there's enough of us out there that our vote carries water, and they need to cater to it. And it is not a surprise to me that we see even the Biden camp starting to put lipstick on a pig with their approach here to saying they're pro-Bitcoin, right? So none of this seems shocking or surprising, except for the pace, right? I think that is the thing that gets me as well, Nico, is holy cow. Like I got my first corn at the end of 2015. And remember reading people, the OGs, like, holy cow, this is going to play out in XYZ sort of way. And it's like, yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. And now to see it like playing out exactly as prescribed, and you've got the prophet like Max Keiser, which I don't know any other word to accurately describe him. Don't agree with all of his takes, but he's been dead on the money following the incentives all the way through since Bitcoin was a quarter. I mean, it's just phenomenal to see how accurately you can predict the future with Bitcoin's adoption, just given the incentives that are inherent in the system. So yeah, I continue to just grow more and more bullish and convinced and convicted in my holdings of Bitcoin.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something like as time progresses, it's just because you spend, I would say, the first 2 years in Bitcoin, like questioning your actions, like, can this thing be banned? Could this thing be stopped? Is this thing like, are my private keys okay? How's my self-custody? Like, you go through like, what is mining? Like, you go through this like rabbit hole of existential questions of like, what am I doing? What is this? And then sprinkle into that the price action, which like just fucks with your emotions. And hodling ain't easy on you. Like, it's easy in practice. It's not easy in actually doing it. But through that kind of rabbit hole, through, going through the gauntlet, of course, your conviction gets stronger. You start to learn a lot, everything and anything about Bitcoin, because as your net worth goes up, you're like, what am I actually holding? What is this? Like, do I really actually own those private keys? Like, am I taking self-custody? Am I running a node? Should I get into you go through all of these kind of questions as an individual, as a Bitcoin holder. And I think it's just part of the course. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro? That was some like, crazy next level, like Alex Jones, the Futures News Today prediction by Keiser, dude. He hit the ball out of the park, bro, calling that Trump inevitably getting into Bitcoin back in 2020. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, Max Keiser is the type of cosmic Bitcoin rant and content that I'm here for. That's I love that stuff. And it really just goes to show, if you stay bull-hearted enough and you work from first principles like Bitcoin fundamentals, you will always be right. On a long enough time frame, you will always be right. So shouts out. Max Keiser news that we saw come out yesterday. It's too little too late as far as I'm concerned. And I really just can't wait until the Biden administration flip-flops on that stance next week as well, because that seems to be the pattern. They, embrace it a little bit, and then the next week they do something to undermine their position. So I'm guessing next week we'll see something else that basically plays into that pattern. And like to everyone in the chat basically saying, and where we all are agreeing and saying the same thing, like we all know politicians pander to get votes, but this is the worst kind and the most ineffective form of persuasion I've seen from a politician in a long time, which I think is saying something. Like I'm glad that we brought up the Nick Carter tweet because it lays out everything they've done the last couple of years to fight Bitcoin. And now they're like, oh, look, we're taking Bitcoin donations. We're cool. It's literally like the Steve Buscemi meme, like, hello, fellow kids. Like, I'm here to join the party. And it's like, man, this is not going to get votes. And of course, I'd be remiss here if I didn't say, don't give politicians your Bitcoin. Any side of the aisle, hodl your Bitcoin. This is the point of stacking Bitcoin. It's to, make a vote to opt out of the system. And the more money you give them, the longer they stay in power. So as much as they want our Bitcoin, don't give it to them. But it really just goes to show a very pivotal point that we've been saying for a long time. And now at least it's breaking into the mainstream of just how powerful a movement and a political class, quote unquote, if I could say that Bitcoiners are. And I remember saying this last year, and I always forget in regards to what the topic was, but something came out from Washington, D.C. It was I forget, they were like fighting Bitcoin, and Bitcoiners stood up. And in one of the official articles coming out from the legacy media, they basically said that as a voting bloc, Bitcoiners are one of the biggest voting blocs, and hence why they're trying to pander for our votes, and hence why they're now trying to make sure that they're on our side. So it just goes to show that as a Bitcoiner, we're on the right side of history. No amount of gaslighting is going to stop this movement. And now obviously, if you study Bitcoin, you've been around Bitcoin long enough, then you're right. But now you're starting to see this play out. And we've been saying for a while, like we thought this was going to play out a couple years from now, and it's happening quicker than we thought. So, 500K this year or next year, Nico. I agree with Keiser. Let's go. Bull market incoming.
Let's go. And it's important to remember everybody. And also shout out to Balaji, because he absolutely hit the nail. Balaji, thanks, Opti. He killed it with this. The next one isn't red versus blue. It's orange versus green, BTC versus USD for all the marbles. Like, absolutely hit the nail on the head with this. This is something that we've been echoing on the show many, many times. Honestly, I thought I coined it, but apparently not. But it's something.
Nico just straight up ripping stuff.
No,
now.
dude. I mean, I didn't. This is the first time someone tweeted this. I think it was in our Telegram or something on the Orange Pill app, and I was like, "Holy crap!" This is something that we've been saying on the show. So I think it's important to remember that, guys. Fundamentally, it's not Democrat versus Republican. It's not red versus blue. It's not liberal versus conservative. Really, it's people that are pro Bitcoin or anti-Bitcoin. If you're anti-Bitcoin, I can tell you that you're pro-censorship, most likely, that you're pro-authoritarian, you're pro-war, you're pro-slavery, and all those things. Like, if you're pro-fiat, if you're pro-USD, you're all those things. Because I don't think fiat can exist without an element of coercion. It needs to coerce people into the system. Versus Bitcoin, it's a voluntary system. It's just Bitcoin's incentives. Like, Bitcoin's incentives are the best. That's why people adopt it. There is no government trying to coerce people into using Bitcoin. It's just people are just like, this is superior money. This is better for me and my family. That's why I'm going to use it, right? So I find that really, really interesting. And that's something important to keep in mind as this election year moves forward. And during election years, things get heated, right? Things get heated. People are like, they don't like certain political candidates. And what I got to say is that, look, there's two candidates that are pro Bitcoin. We have Trump and we have RFK. If you don't like Trump, then vote RFK. But what I can tell you is that if you vote Biden, you're voting for fiat, you're voting for pro CBDC. And I would say that's not a good thing in my opinion. Anyways, or you could take the camp of Opti, right? Which is like accelerationist maxi. It's like, let's just let the system burn even quicker.
Let the final battle commence so we can win once and for all.
Personally, I don't want to be in a gulag, but that's, that's
Gulags are going to be lit. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think they'll let us live stream from the gulag?
We're basically already doing it. So yes.
Oof, that's deep. That's deep. All right. Everybody, before we get onto the culture and talk about Saz Mining, talk also about Kent, I do want to give a very special shout out to our lead sponsor, one of our sponsors, a great sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Orange Pill app. It's the Bitcoin social layer. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 10,826 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. Has a really cool geographical feature. So if you're traveling, you move to a new city, you don't know any Bitcoiners near you, you can pull up the Orange Pill app and it will literally show you. Has also a filtration system, so you'll only find like-minded and fellow Bitcoiners on the application. It is the best place to DM me. Can't really find me anywhere else. So if you want to reach me directly, I do answer every single person that sends me a message on Orange Pill app. You can find me on Orange Pill app. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. Talk about Saz Mining. Here we go.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor as well, KABOOMRACKS, the best place, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Check out their racks today by scanning the QR code on your screen right now or checking the link in the video/podcast description. That will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace, so you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. So check out KABOOMRACKS today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video description. Opti saying, did we miss the news? No, we hit the news, brother. We talked about Passport and Foundation and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And anyways, today we're going to talk about Saz Mining. Saz Mining is an incredible company, and for full clarity and transparency, I am an advisor, but I wouldn't be advising a company that I truly didn't believe in. So it's Bitcoin only, and they're making the barrier to entry into mining incredibly, like, you guys are making it seamless. You guys are making it easy to do. And I love the me and Kent were talking earlier on. I'm like, dude, so like, you're a Bitcoin hoster. He's like, no, Nico, we're Bitcoin mining as a service. And I thought about it, I'm like, damn, it is absolutely as a service. And that, I think, comes with the focus that you guys have paid attention to the UI, the focus that you guys have paid attention into your reputation, the focus that you guys have put into just the user experience overall, including the support as well. And I think that that goes a long way, especially because I'm not going to name any names, but I think the hosting industry got a bad name for itself over the last 4 or 5 years, just because there were some players that didn't value all the things that I just mentioned. So Kent, thank you so much for rejoining us on the show today, man, and excited to talk about Saz.
Yeah. So we saw that when we set out, right? Like, we saw that reputational risk, and we said, hey, the only way to deal with hundreds of people in a good, equitable manner is to build software, to automate processes, create transparency, and pair it with quality customer service. And so that's what we aim to do from the very beginning, because we correctly deduced that just by building reputation, we could elevate ourselves above the masses. And so I think one of the things that I'm most proud about here at Saz Mining is that we've only been growing by word of mouth, right? Like yourself, that agreed to be an advisor after we'd been delivering for clients and you heard our service. That is how most people are finding us, right? We had some very early stage people that saw what we were up to and jumped aboard with our first data center in Wisconsin. And then from that, we were able to leverage a second data center that we are now almost done filling in Paraguay. And, giving that opportunity, proving that we can work across multiple nation states, I think has given us great leverage to lean out in the market and say, hey, look, if you're looking for a place to DCA into a Bitcoin position and do so at a lower cost than the exchange, like, you can trust us, right? Because at the end of the day, there's no way to provide access to this opportunity without a high trust relationship with our clients, because we have possession of their mining rigs, but it's their mining rigs, right? So that's just by definition a high trust relationship, and we recognized that early on and leaned into it, and thankfully we've been able to deliver. And you know, you can see our Trustpilot reviews are reflecting that we are delivering.
Absolutely. If you were to give, for any new viewers and like, Nico, what the fuck is Saz Mining? What are they talking about? What is Ken talking about? What are they even talking about? Could you give a quick elevator pitch, 1 to 2 minutes? What is Saz Mining? Why should people care?
Yeah, so Saz Mining, we make it easy to mine Bitcoin from your home, right? So anywhere in the world, a couple clicks on our website, and you can pick up a mining rig with us, buy it traditional e-commerce style. We procure it, get it shipped, delivered, deployed. Right now, that's in Paraguay at our data center. And once it's deployed, you set up a service plan, and on a monthly basis, you get billed just for the electricity that your mining rig consumes, and all the Bitcoin that mining rig produces gets delivered to your wallet address. So how does Saz Mining make money? We don't make money selling mining rigs. We don't make money selling electricity or maintenance. Where we do make money is taking just 15% of the block reward and having the mining pool split that upon payout, so that we receive that to our Bitcoin wallet and you receive your 85% to your Bitcoin wallet. So we never touch your Bitcoin. It's yours the entire time. But because the only way we make money is the same way our clients do, that means we care about the exact same things our clients do, which is, hey, how quickly can we get your rig live? How do we maximize its compute or hash rate? And how do we make sure that it is up as long as possible, regardless if there's curtailment or rig repairs that are needed? So yeah, that perfect alignment of incentives and transparency with how we make money, I think, has been a key asset as well.
Absolutely. I mean, alignment of incentives as a Bitcoiner, you know, incentives make the world go around, right? And I think it's important for incentives to align, because if not, you know, it's like you're almost acting, if someone is acting unnaturally, if the incentive structure is not aligned, right? So yep. I fundamentally agree with that. Opti?
Yeah. Ken, I know you wanted to stress a point here about you believing that Saz Mining is disrupting the Bitcoin exchange industry. Oof. And your thoughts on it being the best way to DCA. So let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about the cost of mining, like you wanted to stress as well. So talk about why you think Saz Mining is disrupting the exchange game.
Well, I'm gonna make an argument for not a very well loved service by a lot of us Bitcoiners, but Coinbase, when they came along, they created a user experience on an exchange to acquire Bitcoin, and Bitcoin adoption took off. I think that there was a clear inflection point when they came along. The problem is that the entire exchange-based approach to acquiring Bitcoin is not Bitcoin native. The way Satoshi designed the network is for people to acquire Bitcoin by mining. The problem is it's not been accessible, right? So by building this technology layer that sits on top of the mining stack, what we're ultimately doing is creating a way to compete with the exchanges. And why it's such a viable approach is, first of all, it's just better to mine and acquire your own sats. Like, there's nothing more gratifying than having sats hit your wallet that you created with your own mining rig. So that's incredibly empowering, but there's a whole host of other benefits, right? You just purchase your mining rig up front, and then the value of that is being returned to you by the Bitcoin rewards over time. So it's a DCA process. And by the way, when you actually go look at what the cost to mine a Bitcoin is right now, that's lower with us than going to an exchange. Now, you still have counterparty risks with us, right? As compared to an exchange, but they're different. Right? Like, we don't have to know exactly who you are because we're selling hardware and service, right? We don't have all the regulatory overhang that comes with running an exchange. So we don't have to hold on to your identifying information and potentially have that hacked or delivered in a bankruptcy proceeding. And so for this reason, it is an alternative way to acquire Bitcoin and to maximize your bang for your buck in acquiring your sats. So for this reason, I think that as we make it more and more seamless, and, you know, to be fair, we're not perfect, right? We're still a fairly early stage startup, and we see where we can take this business model. And as we continue to remove the friction, I think we're naturally just going to peel people away from going to exchanges and other DCA services. And right now, at this point, my argument is just, hey, just diversify how you're DCAing and come check out a mining rig with us.
I don't think we've hit on this yet, right? There's an advantage from using an alternative to using a Bitcoin mining as a service, and that advantage is that you get Bitcoin cheaper than if you were to just buy spot Bitcoin. Is that true, Kent?
That is correct. So the way we look at it is we're leveraging a model that Galaxy Digital put out, right? So Galaxy Digital was one of the big financiers of Bitcoin mining rigs by a lot of the big mining companies, prop companies. And they put out a model, I think it was in 2021, of how do you evaluate your cost to mine a Bitcoin, because everybody was sort of coming up with their own approach. So it's nice to have this third-party model. We just plug in the specific opportunity with our mining operation, and when you plug it all in, you can see that the average cost right now to mine a Bitcoin is about $45K. Now, how does this model work? And I think it is important to touch on that. First of all, it's not a model that is based on the future price of Bitcoin or the future hash rate. It is simply saying, hey, if I want to mine a Bitcoin today, how much is it going to cost based on the current dynamics? And so what's beautiful about that is you avoid the entire argument about what's Bitcoin's price going to do in the future and its hash rate. You just look today. What does it cost to mine a Bitcoin? And I think that makes it pretty clear, and also makes the value proposition for mining much more understandable, because all of us understand what the price of Bitcoin is. But to bring that to mining has been, I think, challenging, and introduces a whole different set of metrics. So my argument is, hey, let's leverage this model that a lot of publicly traded mining companies are already using, plug in our numbers, and just make sure to educate the market like how this model works. And, go play with it yourself. But from our vantage point, you can DCA into a Bitcoin position right now for about a 30% discount as compared to the price of Bitcoin on an exchange.
Yeah,
love it.
And then that gets progressively, like if the price goes crazy, right? Like if we're at 100 and 120K, like you get even bigger discounts. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if the price is suddenly, like, our cost basis does not change near as much as the price of Bitcoin will, right? So your cost of your mining rig, yes, it may fluctuate a bit. So far, it's not moved much with the bull market that we're in. So that's good, but hash rate and difficulty do change, and as that changes up, the costs are going to increase. But typically, that does not move as fast as the price does. So you're still going to see a big gap between the price of Bitcoin as it runs and your cost to mine a Bitcoin, and it should grow. I mean, we've seen it as low as about 40% of the costs on an exchange.
Absolutely, man. This is very, very cool, very interesting, and I think a lot of people are just they're not aware of it, so to speak. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
I mean, yeah, like if you get cheaper sats for KYC free sats, like it's definitely a good idea to consider at the very least. And on that point, Ken, you guys do have a good visual here on the cost of mining a single Bitcoin. So can you educate the audience out there? What exactly are they looking at, and what's this process like?
Yeah, so what you're looking at is an update. We updated that, I think, last Monday at about 48K, and I just ran the numbers as of Friday is 45K. But what you're looking at is just us trying to make it very simple. Like, hey, your cost to mine a Bitcoin is cheaper than going to an exchange right now, and just making that comparison. But if you scroll down a little bit, the process is described below for how you get into mining, right? Which is you purchase your mining rig, we get it procured, shipped to the facility. Once it's there, you set up your payment plan, and then the rewards go straight to your wallet, and it's all done in an automated, easy to access way. And a lot of this was just born from my experience as a Bitcoiner, trying to acquire Bitcoin by mining in Portugal, and realizing I couldn't do it in a way that was very effective, and tried an in-home mining experience. And I was like, there's got to be a software solution. And so, that was a big part of the inspiration. Where you are now is we do accept outside mining rigs. It takes about 20 mining rigs to get shipped to Paraguay, but we do have some clients that have said, hey, you know, I've been mining at home, or I'm with another operator and I'm not really happy with how that's going. So can I send you my mining rigs? And we work it out for them. It's a bit of a custom process though.
I mean, you guys do offer it though, right? So yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then but it's 20 miners minimum. That's where it makes sense for you guys.
Yeah, well, it's either that or you kind of have an unknown time delay, because we need at least a pallet to ship to Paraguay, right? And a pallet's about 20 mining rigs. So if you're not shipping us a full 20 mining rigs, then we need to wait till we accumulate enough.
Gotcha. Interesting. Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
Actually, I wanna ask a question that was in the chat. I think I lost it. But Kent, someone was saying that cloud mining was started 10 years ago, and I know you guys don't like that framing. So what's the difference between Saz mining and cloud mining?
The biggest answer is a serial number, right? Like your mining rig is your mining rig, and we track it from the point of procurement. It is your serial number attached to your mining rig all the way through. And we designed it this way intentionally because what I see is cloud mining, it abstracts the hardware from the what you own, so it separates hardware from hash rate. And I think that by doing that, it creates an inherent incentive on the business side of the model to abstract that and abuse. You know, you do have a certain set of control that you can utilize in, you know, not a good way for the customer, versus us, like by having every client know, and we know whose serial numbers are whose, we are forced to have a different level of discipline that keeps us from being able to drive the business off the rails. And I think it's a key differentiator. It's much harder to do as well. It's much simpler to simply sell hash rate because it's very easy to abstract that way. But we looked at it for two reasons. One, the discipline and avoiding that potential abuse situation that has occurred in the past, reputationally could be damaging. And secondly, we looked at it and said, you know, the SEC might not like that model at some point in the future. And if we're just selling hardware and servicing that hardware, we're no different than any sort of data compute center. And we can kind of, you know, get lost in the crowd of server-based services that are out there.
Yeah.
Love it.
Ken, I have a question for you. I'm just trying to put trying to put myself in the shoes of the audience. Bitcoin mining as a service, Saz mining, that might seem a little bit out of the technical hands of some people who are watching. So if you were to get started, right, what would be the process? Like, you're like, okay, this sounds interesting. I'm going to head over to SazMining.com. What do they need? They need their name, an email, credit card. Like, how many steps does it take to get started?
So it's your typical e-commerce checkout, right? So I think you could frame it that way. We, in the beginning, being aligning ourselves with the Bitcoin ethos, we tried to be extremely privacy focused and just collect a name and email address. And then we found we couldn't get a hold of our customers. So then we forced our customers to give us phone numbers as well. So these are just for communication purposes, the reason we have it. So you choose a mining rig, you can proceed to the next page after you accept that, you know, there's going to be a service plan later that you're going to have to sign up for.
Put Simply Bitcoin in there, Opti. Put Simply Bitcoin in there.
Yeah, we've got a nice little discount code for all your audience members here.
You have to press apply promo too. Oh man.
And then you get signed in. Once you got to create an account. So yeah, your typical account based.
Signing on yours, Nico. I'm still logged in apparently.
Rip it. Boom.
There you go. And so you've got down below a few different payment rails. So we've got Bitcoin and Lightning. That's our favorite, of course. We give a little discount to it because it's cheaper, genuinely for us, than any other means. At USDT, USDC, Wire, and then credit cards we have to do manually, but we do accept those. So once you go through that process, it's purchased. We're getting orders.
Should I purchase some, Nico?
No.
Yeah,
but sorry, now you just gave me the idea, bro. I just paid everyone out, bro. We just did payroll. No, but you just gave me the idea for next month, bro. So that actually sounds like a really good idea, Kent. We should definitely go through the process of purchasing a miner next month and just show the audience. I think that'd be a really cool exercise.
I agree with you, man. I'd love to make that happen. I think maybe we can do it in person because I'm
Oh.
going to see it Mining Disrupt, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Mining Disrupt here in Miami. Looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. Opti, I think I'm flying you down, by the way.
Oh, really? This is news to me. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So that's
going to
be,
Miami.
It's going to be interesting. Anyways,
wait. One last question for Kent. And this might be speculation. In regards to considering that you do work, with mining, you probably have a little more insights with the back end on what's going on in the mining space. What is, I don't know, maybe some predictions that you have for the mining space going into 2025 or maybe till the end of 2025? Are you thinking we're gonna see incredible increases in hash rate? Like, what's your thoughts on just the general mining space right now?
Well, I think I'm a price cycle maximalist, and I believe that you don't want to be a miner if you don't believe in the price cycles. But what that means is that when Bitcoin's price rips, everybody that's plugged in is going to absolutely score, right? So we are in the phase before that occurs. So this is actually kind of the least profitable time frame. If you look at the Bitcoin price cycle, we just have the halving hash rate. There's still hash rate pressure going on, and the price hasn't started to rip yet. But once it does start to rip, again, assuming that the price cycles play out, this is the most profitable time to mine. Now, afterwards, we'll go into another bear market and things will get slim and tight again. But for even the clients that we onboarded at the beginning of January last year, depths of the bear market, they still saw a return on their mining rig. And the way I look at this is a little less like, hey, you want to look at it from a month to month, like cash flow basis, and more look at this as a Bitcoin acquisition vehicle where you're just cycling your fiat through a piece of hardware and into Bitcoin. And you want to hold that because anybody that's held Bitcoin for at least 4 years has come out on top. So I think that if you have that approach, that you're looking at this as a way to hold Bitcoin, I don't see how you're really going to lose over a 4-year time frame. But that said, you got to analyze the risks on your own and come to your own conclusions. But we're just trying to make it really easy for folks to jump in on the mining side. And further predictions in the mining space, I mean, I think that there's some really unique things that are coming out, specifically around heating. I think that almost anything that's done with heating electrically is going to insert some sort of Bitcoin mining aspect to it, just to reduce the costs. Because if you're gonna be mining, you're producing heat anyway. Why not put that heat to use? I think that'll become a bigger factor in the years ahead. And I also think that we're going to see, instead of now, like we're in Paraguay, right? We're consuming excess electricity, but I think that you're going to start to see power generation projects designed from the ground up with Bitcoin mining integrated. And I think that's the next real phase is, hey, where can we go generate electricity for super cheap? And by the way, now we've got a buyer of first resort for that super cheap electricity. So let's go plow the capital into developing this energy source. And then, by the way, now that we've got the capital and the energy there, maybe somebody wants to live there and start a business and start a home. So I think in the long run, we're going to see Bitcoin mining actually plant the basis for a future like homesteading movement of sorts.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, man. There's going to be so many places around planet Earth that were counted out, right? But they have excess energy capacity, and it's too far away from anyone and anything for it to be economical. Now Bitcoin miners are like, yo, that looks awfully good over there. And it's kind of like in a way, it's the new but more sustainable gold rush, because with gold, it's like, that easy to plug gold kind of ran out pretty quickly, and those gold towns just died. Versus, I think we'll be good in mining terms for the next 100 years or so. And I think even after the subsidy runs out, in what year 2042 or something, I think that the fees on its own, hopefully the Bitcoin network is so massive at that point that I think the fees on their own will be able to carry the day. Anyways,
wait, Nico, I got one more question. Sorry.
Sure.
Considering we got a little time, Kent. We kind of talked about it today, with the numbers, but considering all the stuff we see, and it's more like a general overview, and you could plead the fifth if you want to, considering all of the crazy regulatory landscape that we've seen revolving around Bitcoin mining. And now we're seeing, as Nika loves to say, the Overton window shifting.
It's exploded, bro.
It exploded. Yeah,
exploded.
exactly.
I have footage of it. It exploded.
Yes.
Bro.
Nika's dad jokes on fleek today. Anyways, Kent, what is your thoughts on maybe that pivot happening for Bitcoin mining, for the Bitcoin mining space at large in America? Like now that we're seeing the political narrative shift around Bitcoin and the Trump endorsement, like how are you feeling as a Bitcoin miner?
Well, I definitely am feeling better about the security of our operations in the U.S. Right, and while I don't think that we're completely out of the woods yet, certainly endorsements by two of the leading candidates, presidential contenders, right, it helps. Now, as far as like, some folks have been asking about like, hey, how much regulatory risk is there both in Paraguay and with you guys? I think one unique angle that is not entirely obvious about our operation is, yes, we do represent a single throat to choke if a regulator came after us. However, we don't own the equipment, right? So if a regulator did come after us and say, hey, you got to shut down your mining rigs, I would say, okay, here's the contact information for all the folks that we've got. Like, what would you like us to do? Because we can't really stop them from operating with the contracts that we've got. We're being paid for this service and they're not ours. How would you like to handle it? And I think that sort of borks the system a little bit, because now we've got hundreds of clients that they need to speak with directly instead of one single entity that represents all that hash rate. So I think that that's an advantage. As far as Paraguay, I see very little regulatory risk there. I know that coming from a U.S. perspective, operating outside the U.S. can be seen as a bit difficult and risky. However, we successfully analyzed the incentives there. They had all this excess power that they were selling at a loss, and it was a drag on their GDP. And now Bitcoin miners are turning it into and flipping that liability into an asset, right? And so the politicians, I said from the beginning, I was like, man, that's going to mean votes for politicians in the long run. So they're going to embrace this. And there was a bit of a hiccup about 2 months ago where there is an attempted ban. And that was from a very small portion of the political class. And instantly the rest of the political class came out to embrace it. And now the economic ministry has embraced Bitcoin mining and saying, look, we only want to sell this excess electricity to miners. We don't want to sell it to Brazil anymore, which is where they were selling it. So I actually see that it's been de-risked in Paraguay, and it is an opportunity to become like the next Texas, really, because there's about 5 gigawatts of excess power that can be harnessed there by Bitcoin miners such as us.
Man, that's absolutely bullish. I'm bullish on Saz, bullish on Bitcoin, bullish on Paraguay. Paraguay obviously doesn't want to have fun staying poor. That announcement from the politician was really interesting, where he just said, he's like, look, like it's what you said. I'm like, it makes more sense, using this electricity in country than sending it to another country, and we're going to get more bang from our buck, right? And I think it boils down to what we were talking about, incentives early on in the show. No one is better than their incentives, and I think Bitcoin provides these very clear incentives that does either two things. It exposes governments for acting politically, or the politicians and government are like, you know what, this Bitcoin thing actually makes a lot of sense. Right. And then you have an alignment of incentives, which is, I think, something pretty hard to see if you live in the US. But I think an example of a country which has fixed the incentive structure, I think, is El Salvador. And I think you're going to see more along the way. Anyways, Kent, do you have any last words for our audience watching right now?
Oh yeah, man. Just hit me up and study what we're up to, and prove for yourself that that we're earning the reputation and trust of the community. Do your own research. Check it out. Don't trust, verify, all those good things. But I would say that we're living through a historic time frame right now. Nico's liking to blow up the Overton window. I don't know if it's truly destroyed, but I've got a copy of gradually, then suddenly I picked up from Parker Lewis here, and it feels like that is exactly where we are. And I love it. I'm here for it. I'm glad to have so many other freaks and crazies out there that are helping to make this happen, because I think, by God, we're bringing ourselves back from the abyss with the movement, and the pendulum starting to shift the right direction, even if we haven't seen the policies to follow just yet. So yeah, let's keep going forward here.
Amen, man. Let's stay winning. We're going to win if we're on a Bitcoin standard. Anyways, Kent, thank you so much for joining us on Simply Bitcoin Live. Guys, that was the show for June 13th, 2024. I'm your host, Nico's, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, who's hurting today, which is
Old
why
man Fields.
the 1,500 of you guys watching live should smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel we provided you value. And I do want to give a shout out to our guest, Kent, the CEO of Saz Mining. Check out Saz Mining today, Bitcoin mining as a service. All right, love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Finish off the week strong. Peace out, everybody. Take care.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.